beautiful, perfect.
Hello, welcome to Cynic Critique, where we get real with cult films. I'm your host, Thomas, and I'm here with my brother and co-host, my bro-host, Brian. Hello. This week, we explore Britain's seedy underworld with 2000's Gangster No.1 and 2001's Sexy Beast.
Yep, from 2000, as you previously said. Gangster No.1 is directed by Paul McGuigan, written by Johnny Ferguson, and it's based on a stage play by Lewis Mellis and David Skinto.
I'm gonna be number one. You ready? Number one.
It stars Malcolm McDowell as our narrator, or Gangster 55 as IMDb credits him, David Lewis as Freddie Mays, Paul Bettany as Young Gangster, Saffron Burrows as Karen, Kenneth Graham as Tommy, Jamie Foreman as Lenny Taylor, Eddie Marson as Eddie Miller, Andrew Lincoln as Maxie, and Razak Adotli as Roland, and Doug Allen as Mad John. It's also loosely based on the life of Frankie Fraser, also known as Mad Frank, who's a big London time gangster.
Yeah.
This was the first time watch for you, so I'm more curious about what you think of this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Trying to think when you watched it.
I will have watched it around
20 years ago.
2006-ish, yeah, I would guess.
Yeah.
On Film 4 late one night. I had no idea who Paul Bettany was at the time.
Yeah.
Because in this, he's younger than he is, and he looks different to what he does in Da Vinci Code. Because he's the albino monk, isn't he?
Yeah. Definitely looks different.
So,
that.
yeah, exactly.
No, after you recommended it for 18 years, I do think it lived up to the hype. I do actually think this was a great film. I don't think I had a problem with it at all.
No.
Not that I should, but I mean, after years of you saying it's a great film, you should watch it,
Yeah.
you'd think it'd...
I don't think I've really ever said much about this as I have some others.
No.
And conceptually, it's quite easy to explain.
Yeah. Don't know if you mentioned that Young Gangster is...
Yeah, Paul Bettany,
Yeah.
which is Malcolm McDowell's character in the flashbacks, which is a majority of the film.
Yeah. Well, he's known as...
Gangster 55.
Yeah, in credits.
Because that's supposed to be the age of his character at the time.
Yeah.
It was only this time watching that I realised how great the title is.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it's Gangster No.1, but it's N-O dot for number.
Right.
So it's like Gangster No.1.
Right.
Which I thought fits really well into how his character plays out as he rises through the ranks, but also how he seems to think of himself.
Yeah.
Because there's like some good psychology to his character in this film. I think that's really good.
Yeah. He's a very interesting character.
And obviously, no name.
Yeah. He's a complete psycho.
Yeah, because we get introduced to him as Malcolm McDowell at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then don't really know what triggers the flashback.
Freddie Mays, David Thewlis's character.
Yeah.
He's coming back into town or something.
Yes, and that's his old boss.
Yeah.
So we then get introduced to when he first meets Freddie Mays in a flashback, and he joins Freddie Mays' little gang.
Yeah.
And it's Lenny Taylor, played by Jamie Foreman, who plays Mays' gangster opposition with another family in London. And did you see this fun fact about Jamie Foreman that plays Lenny Taylor?
I believe I did.
Well, he's the son of Freddie Foreman, who was a big gangster, and he used to run around with the Craze in London back in the day.
Yeah.
And The Long Good Friday, starring Bob Hoskins, and is it Helen Mirren in that?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I might be mixing her up again with, I can't remember her name.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, it might be Meryl Streep, actually.
I'm going
In The Long Good Friday. Yeah? Let's do a live fact check.
Yeah.
I know it's Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, I believe it's Helen Mirren.
1980, The Long Good Friday, set in the 70s. Helen Mirren, you're right. And Pierce Brosnan's in it. He doesn't even have a name. He's credited as First Irishman. I didn't even realise The Long Good Friday was based on Freddie Foreman.
No.
So it makes me want to watch that now.
Yeah. I thought it was great seeing Eddie Marson in this. He's a great actor. He's very underrated.
Yeah.
He's such a great character actor.
He's very good. Very, very good in Ray Donovan.
He's probably my favourite actor in this.
Yeah, and he's one of the smallest parts.
Yeah, but his scenes are just so captivating. His performances in them as well. He's just such a good actor.
He's in Atomic Blonde. We covered that.
Yeah, that'll be it.
I said in the cast read that Andrew Lincoln's in this, and that is a look. He looks like he's auditioning to play a very emo sort of vampire. He's got long, straight hair. Does he have a mustache?
Yeah, he had a mustache. It was very weird. I've never seen him look like that. I did love this film. I love Malcolm McDowell's narration throughout.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of narration in films anyway.
I know, right? You've said it before. And
Yeah.
Did you say budget for this?
Sorry, the budget apparently is £10,000.
Which I thought was great.
10,000 British pounds.
I thought it was great. Looking at the whole film and the cast.
And its worldwide gross, I don't know why it's always done in dollars, but it's $30,915 US. So it trebled its budget, which is great.
Yeah.
This film I don't see mentioned all that much even online. Yet everyone who seems to have watched it seems to like it.
I would say it gets mentioned a lot over here, but I think that's mainly when you're watching Film 4 or Channel 4 and it'll tell you it's on.
Yeah.
And she's kind of upsetting with it. It's a really good film and it took me way too long to get around to watching it.
Glad you have though.
Yeah.
Oh, I never read its synopsis either.
Did you?
No. The synopsis chronicles the rise and fall of a prominent and particularly ruthless English gangster. So, hinted at earlier, it's about the rise of Gangster, played by Paul Bettany in the flashback. And I think the imagery when some of the stuff with him and David Lewis's character Freddie Mays is great. And it's all set up, I think, quite well from the moment when Mays realises he's looking at the tie-pin. He's like, do you want my tie-pin? And he passes him the tie-pin. And Freddie Mays' tie-pin, it's got his initials FM on it. And Gangster wears it throughout the film.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't drop it because he just clearly wants to be Freddie.
Yeah. I remember you laughing throughout the film as well.
Still wearing that tie. Yeah, because there's also a scene where Freddie Mays is like, when they're all back at, because they go back to his apartment, don't they? When they have their meetings with the other higher ups in his gang. Yeah. He says something about taking his spot, and then Gangster sees himself, but older. So it's then Malcolm McDowell sat in his place on the sofa in the seating area. And I thought that was a good bit of imagery.
Yeah.
But then there's another great bit where they go to dinner, and he's looking at Freddie Mays through a glass, and his reflection is put over Freddie Mays. So it's his head on the back of Freddie Mays' body. And that was a pretty good one as well, I thought, with the reflection.
Yeah, it's really well done.
And then it's done again in that same scene a bit later because they send a woman in the club to go meet Freddie Mays. But Freddie Mays has gone to the toilet or something.
Yeah.
So the woman comes out and sees Gangster wearing the Freddie Mays tie-pin and starts talking to him, but he's not as polite as Freddie Mays was made out to be.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
That's a really funny scene. Or I thought it was.
Yeah. And that mistaken scene is with Karen, played by Saffron Burrows. You said this film looks great, and I think part of that is how well it's actually recreated 60s London.
Yeah.
Because there's also a part where they're driving a lovely Aston Martin. Very nice. Obviously, it's a nice car anyway. It's a 60s Aston Martin.
Yeah.
It's a DB6 Mach 1 in Gangster No.1, apparently, from 1967.
Nice.
But when this was put in the telly book, or a lot of the time, it's normally just Paul Bettany stood in a lovely suit or a picture of the Aston Martin for the promotion image. Or they were the ones I'd seen anyway. But anyone interested in the British crime families and stuff like that, I think this is well worth a watch. And if you just love gangster films, because for me, this is the nearest we've got to The Godfather for British gang culture, because our gangs don't operate like the Cosa Nostra and stuff like that in America.
You could even say Scarface.
The next film, I think, is more our Scarface.
Yeah, maybe due to character. I'll agree with that.
I think this is more like The Godfather in how it's muscling in on territory.
Yeah.
You're seeing the climb up the ladder in a more similar way.
Yeah.
How the family work.
Yeah.
If you call it a family.
I get it. Except your main character's more like Sonny Corleone than a Michael.
Yeah. I mean, this character in Gangster No.1 is a sociopath, isn't he, really?
Oh, yeah.
He's got a lot in common, I think, with Patrick Bateman. You know, he's obsessed with this status, but he doesn't quite understand the status because he's almost an empty shell of a guy.
Yeah. That's a very interesting character. And each version of him's played really well.
Yeah, despite their 7-inch difference, which is currently reported online. Like you can tell.
That really brings it down for me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's broken.
It's one of my favourite British films, as was the two we discussed last week.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got to see it. I urge any listeners to watch it as well.
So do I.
Is there anything you want to add on this one?
Yeah, but the director of one of my favourite films that will probably link into next week's episode, is Push.
Yeah. He directs a strange assortment of films, doesn't he? Genre, style.
He did Lucky Number 11, and I can see...
Was that his first Hollywood film?
It might have been. I can't remember. I just noted down the ones I knew.
Yeah. He also has a cameo in the film, if you didn't know. He's in the urinals at the beginning.
Yeah. His cinematographer worked with him on Push and Lucky Number 11 as well.
That is showing range, though, because they're so different.
Yeah, and he did Donnie Brasco.
I haven't seen that either. Donnie Brasco. Oh, True story. It's great.
Yeah.
I'd like to pair that with another film, actually. If
Yeah.
not 2 other films.
The guy who did the music, he did a great job because that really fit that 70s feel.
In 60s.
But yeah, he did a great job with the,
Yeah, that's John
music.
Dankworth.
yeah, I'm going to say that, John Dankworth. I thought it was weird because he
He
did
passed away in 2010.
yeah, but he did a film not long after this, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, not the Shane Black one. But before this, he hadn't done anything for like 7 years. And he just did like I think it was an episode of something called Screen One in '93.
All right.
And then it took 7 years and he got this. And then the other film I mentioned, I just thought it was a bit strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did a tremendous job, Dankworth, on this.
When you look him up as a conductor or music department anyway,
Yeah.
he did do a lot of work through the 60s.
Yeah.
Other than just how well this is acted and shot
Yeah.
and sounds and looks. Because the sets are great as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Film looks great.
Freddie Mays' apartment,
Yeah.
which is a big part of the setting, is phenomenal. And there's a really decent tense scene where he goes to see Eddie Marson's character.
Yeah.
I think it's in his kitchen, and that's a good scene. Makes him a cup of tea.
Yeah.
A lot of cup of teas getting made in this film as well.
It is British.
I know, but
Very British.
yeah. I have a lot of love and respect for this film, and I think it's only a breezy, like, 90 minutes. Not a long film, is it?
No, neither of these were particularly long.
Sorry, it's an hour 43.
Yeah, not too long.
No.
Not in 2 hours.
Still breezy.
They could have maybe flashed a bit more out in 2 hours.
Yeah, but I think just the way it looks, the way it's shot, the sound, it really fits the era.
Yeah.
In fact, I think if it weren't for the picture quality and recognizing the faces of the cast, you could possibly pass it as a 60s film.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I've just been too kind to it.
I don't think you can be too kind to it. It's a great film.
I just love Paul Bettany's performance in this film. I've not seen him do better than this,
No.
which is a shame because I've seen quite a few of his films.
No, he's pretty good in Da Vinci Code, but I don't really think it.
He's not even the lead in that, is he, really?
So I don't particularly think it's as great as this.
And I enjoy him in Legion,
Yeah.
where he comes to help Dennis Quaid fight demons.
Yeah.
But it's like a schlocky, fun action horror film. It's not a performance piece for anyone in that film, really.
No.
Apart from Doug Jones, obviously, as the ice cream man.
Generally horrifying.
Weird that I remember that.
No, I remember it as well.
Oh, and that crazy lady that jumps on the roof.
Are we still on about Gangster No.1?
yeah. Do you remember that crazy lady jumped on the roof? She hissed at him like a cat when he entered the room and she jumped on the roof. It was like Sylvester from Looney Tunes. No, I'm joking. That didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
Not in this film.
No.
That was Legion.
Do you want me to read a bit of information which will carry us through?
Yeah, go on. You do that.
Skinto and Mellis. You said they wrote the original,
The stage play.
yeah.
Yeah.
They get credit for screenplay on this, which might be because they were working on this film originally with director Jonathan Glazer, which you'll know the name of.
Yes. Well, he recently just won an Oscar, didn't he?
Yeah.
For Zone of Interest.
Yeah. Well, the three of them were working on this film, but the studio wanted to cast someone else as Gangster 55.
Right.
I don't know if that was McDowell or not, but they said they didn't like,
want it.
yeah, and like I said, I don't know if it was McDowell or someone else. They didn't say in the quote from him. Anyway, there were a few other altercations with the studio sort of thing of what they wanted and
Yeah.
a lot of disagreements, and they eventually just left the project to work on Sexy Beast.
Right, which is the next film. Could I just mention something, actually? Because I think Malcolm McDowell's casting is great for how little is in it.
Yeah.
Because he comes with the background that people will associate him with from Clockwork Orange,
Yeah.
where he plays quite a violent gangster type. So when you think about what he looked like back in that day, I think Paul Bettany's a pretty good likeness and match for that.
Yeah.
Even though they don't look particularly alike on screen in that film. If you know Clockwork Orange and a young Malcolm McDowell, I think it pairs up quite nicely in that aspect.
Yeah.
And it just adds to the cast. But yeah, move us on to Sexy Beast.
Yeah, from 2001 on a budget of $4.3 million or £3 million. Seems off, just found. And it grows $10,048,987 or $10.2 million.
Depends where you look.
Yeah, I don't know what the thing is. Like I said, it's directed by Jonathan Glazer, written by Lewis Mellis and David Skinto.
What's the worst thing that can happen? What's the worst scenario? It's gonna come here. Ask me, I'm gonna say no.
And it stars Ray Winston as Gal, Ben Kingsley as Don Logan, Ian McShane as Teddy Bass, Amanda Redman as Dee Dee Dove. The synopsis off IMDb reads, brutal gangster Don Logan recruits retired safecracker Gal for one last job, but it goes badly for both of them. Now, I'm just going to say that I don't think that synopsis is correct.
Kind of is.
Because he travels to Spain to recruit Gal.
Yeah.
But this says he recruits him, and the whole film is pretty much him trying to recruit him.
Yeah. I mean, it's a brilliant and enjoyable performance from Sir Ben Kingsley.
Yes. it is. I haven't enjoyed him that much. Probably not ever, because I don't think I've seen enough films with him in.
Yeah.
Just watching him in this, I was like, I need to see more Ben Kingsley.
Other than Gandhi, because I know I've seen Gandhi when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Don't know how or why. I just know I've seen it.
Yeah.
This might have been the first film I watched with him in, other than Gandhi.
Right.
I don't count Gandhi because I know I've seen it, but couldn't tell you what about it.
I can't think what I've seen him in, like, around the time. I'm just thinking, I know he was in the... He's in Prince of Persia movie and Iron Man 3, and I honestly don't tell you anything else. Which just does a poor job at what films I was watching, I guess.
He's in one of the films that we've got planned for the start next year.
Yes, and that was
another great performance.
Great performance. I haven't enjoyed it that much. Yeah, I hadn't enjoyed it that much since
you
I
watched
watched
this
Sexy Beast on Friday.
It's days before.
Yeah.
As you said, this is Jonathan Glazer directing.
Yeah.
I mentioned Zone of Interest, but he did Under the Skin,
Yeah.
which I think is a brilliant film.
I haven't seen it.
It's a really weird, surreal alien movie,
Yeah.
or possibly alien film based on a novel. He's done a lot of Radiohead music videos, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, which I'm surprised Daniel Craig never got him to direct a James Bond film.
It wouldn't surprise me if you wanted him to do one.
But as you said, Ray Winston's character Gal, anyway, he's in Spain at the start of this film, and he's retired from the gangster life and the safe cracking and all that stuff. And yeah, Ben Kingsley's come to hire him. But Winston travelled to Spain 2 weeks before filming began on this film.
Yeah.
To get as deep tan as possible and eat as much as he could to bulk up. He said it's the best rehearsal time he's ever had in his life. And I just find that quite funny. Sadly, also, GTA 5 is the only GTA game I've not played, and it's heavily influenced by this film,
Yeah.
which I now need to play GTA 5 more than ever.
Because you hope that the Ben Kingsley type.
Yeah, or something like that. I found this quite fascinating, actually, looking up some of the stuff on this, because Ray Winston was offered the choice to play Gal or Don Logan.
Yeah.
And I can actually see him playing both, but the Don Logan character would have been so different with his performance in the place. I
Yeah.
don't see it the same at all.
No, I didn't either. I just imagined it was just usual Ray Winston tough guy.
Yeah, I find it much more interesting him playing this more. I'm retired, I'm done with it, please just leave me alone.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when a bit of altercation comes from Ben Kingsley, because everyone is there, because you've got Gal there with his... Are they married? D.D. Dove, anyway. She's there with him.
Yeah.
And then he's got this friend there with him, Harry, played by James Fox, not to
Yeah.
be mistaken by Jamie Foxx, and Jackie, played by Julian White. And Don Logan turns up, and they're all instantly just terrified of the guy, it seems. Well, Ray Winston doesn't seem terrified of him, but he doesn't ever really seem to stand up to him either, because
No.
you assume that he'll do some scary stuff.
Yeah.
It's implied just from how they act around him, which I think is a really great thing. But Don Logan from Ben Kingsley, it's a performance off the rails the way he talks
Yeah.
to people. He's
Yeah.
like, he's someone not going to
Yeah.
put this guy in his place.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And then I learned that Kingsley claims that he based this performance on his grandmother.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if he's saying that being funny. Because the amount of effing and jeffing and the C words he throws about in this film is delightfully funny, but also quite cruel if the way you were being spoken to and the way he speaks to you. If his grandmother was like that, then I just find that amazing. Yeah, also, like, what a horrible child.
Yeah. I'm assuming you saw that Anthony Hopkins was also
Yeah.
up for that role.
Yeah.
He didn't take it. I can't remember
No.
why not.
No, I
But
can't.
I'm kind of glad he did.
But he, I'll let you say it, actually. I think you're going to go on to say it.
He apparently wrote Ben Kingsley a very nice letter
Yeah.
to compliment him on such a great performance,
Yeah.
which it is a great performance. It apparently stunned the other actors on set, and I can see why. If he comes at you like that, even if it's just an acting performance,
Yeah.
shocked the hell out of me, I think.
Was this your first watch?
Yeah. These were both first time.
I thought so, because I've seen this now a handful of times at most.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I expected something a little more like Gangster No.1,
Yeah.
or more of a real, like, crime gangster sort of thing, because the write-up I'd seen for it and got really excited, and I watched it and I was like, this isn't what I wanted at all. It's just two men talking in some swanky Spanish house. You know, I was quite young. I'd have been about 15, I think, when I watched it.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, a slight feeling of disappointment from it. And then I watched it a few years later, for some reason, probably because nothing else was on, and I was like, wow, this film's great.
In my mind, I can't imagine anyone putting this on and saying, what a bad film.
I don't think
feeling
it's the fact
disappointed.
I think it's just for the disappointment, because it was described more as a gangster film
Yeah.
than it really is.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they're criminals, but it's not quite a gangster film in
No.
terms of, in content, the same. Because it goes on about a heist, which, spoilers, there is a heist,
Yeah.
and it's quite a good heist,
Yeah.
but it's a very, very small segment of the film.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Ian McShane isn't in this for as much as you'd expect at all for how high he's building.
Yeah, he was third. I sat through a whole film just thinking, I can't really wait to see what he does in this. And then it pretty much ended. I was like, was that all he did?
Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed. I was just about to say that if you're watching this for Ian McShane, don't know who it is, but if you're watching it for Ian McShane, he doesn't do as much as you'd like.
It'd be a great prequel for his character in John Wick, though, wouldn't it?
Speaking of prequels, I am interested in watching the series.
It was on this year. Is it a prequel?
It's a prequel. I think it's how they met or just like a few jobs they did.
Yeah.
And I think it'll explain why
he retires.
Yeah.
Because there's clearly a bit of friction there.
Yeah, and why he doesn't really stand up to him and whatnot as well.
I think that'll be great then.
I bet you'll see how unhinged
Is it
Don Logan really is.
Is it the same writers?
I believe
Back to the series, or is it just they credited just because it's based on that?
Creator in Michael Kalia,
Not familiar.
for the series.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of how this comes to concluding as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes the way you would expect from the beginning, and even then it goes to some weird places.
Yeah. Got a great build up to it.
Yeah.
And
Surprisingly quite emotional for a gangster film.
emotions are quite high in this one. They're nothing better than the scene where they all just go to the kitchen. And out of context, that sounds really weird.
Yeah.
But watching the film, you'll know what I mean.
I don't even want to spoil that now, because that is a funny
It
thing.
is probably one of my favourite parts of the film.
I will say it starts with one person going off to the kitchen, if not two,
Yeah.
and then they're all in the kitchen but Don.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
This film's worth watching just for Ben Kingsley, I think.
There is the weird guy in the rabbit suit before Donnie Darko.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think he's a hare, isn't he? Because it's hares they're hunting.
Yeah.
And it's clearly a representation of, I guess, the hunted becoming the hunter type thing.
Yeah.
I get that sort of impression.
Yeah.
It's definitely a metaphorical, dreamy sort of scene anyway. And
Yeah. Oddly, I somehow forgot about that.
I had
The sexy beast in the title.
I have no idea what the sexy beast in the title is about. There's no beast, there's no sexy.
It's definitely not Ray Winston in Speedos, I tell you that much.
No. There is a really good scene in this that, I think it's quite a decent scene. And the fact that they shot it first, I find quite interesting. But I guess it helped him develop his character. It's when Don is at the airport getting questioned. That's a really good scene when they're interrogating him, because it starts because he's on the plane to leave Spain.
Yeah.
And then he refuses to put his cigarette out.
Brilliant.
And it just escalates from there, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, this whole film, it builds from a scene that escalates to another scene, which escalates. Yeah, really well done.
But the character of Don Logan is such a weird one, isn't he?
He's another interesting one.
Yeah.
He's just as unhinged as Gangster from Gangster No.1.
I'd love a crossover.
If you can.
If somebody could write me that. In my head, it's old Ben Kingsley now going up against an even older Malcolm McDowell.
Unless you're a prequel on it like in the 80s or 90s.
Oh, but then who's it going to be now?
I don't know. You'd have to recast.
But no, these are some of my favourite British films, some of my favourite gangster films, and just some of my favourite films. So I'm glad I've managed to eventually get you to watch them.
Yeah, I'm glad I watched.
It's hard to get people, even British people, to watch British films, though, don't you think?
It can be, yeah. Right.
It's like, it looks cheap, and it's like you just sat and watched 3 episodes of Coronation Street.
Who are you hanging around with? I don't know.
That was just an example. I couldn't think of a British TV show. I'm terrible with British TV now.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, somehow they can watch, like, a TV series, I say, looks probably, like, similar budget to, like, a British film. Like, even your American TV series, they kind of look like your quality. But, and you're like, oh, do you want to watch this stuff?
Have the same money that America do to throw into it.
Yeah, we don't really seem to throw our money at film like the Americans. Nothing against what the Americans do. But even their lower budget films are probably better than their big budget films, let's just say that.
But it does look like a lot of our films help our talent make it to Hollywood to do the big films.
Yeah, looking at these.
There was, and there was St. Maud the other year, and she went on to do, I can't remember the director's name now, but she did Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great crime thriller.
Yeah.
I think these are 2 fascinating films, and they pair so well.
Yeah.
And the only thing that makes it obvious that it's the same writers, I think, is the creative use of the C word.
I thought you were going to say the unhinged
And that, the character.
And how the scenes escalate into that as well. It's really well done.
But what's great is
They're really
how,
well written.
like, the characters somehow seem exaggerated, yet they feel real.
Yeah.
And that's great character. That's not just script, that is actor as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it helps in Sexy Beast that it's only Ben Kingsley. Well, it's the same in Gangster No.1, isn't it? And Paul Bettany's character's quite understated in a way, even though it's also over-exaggerated.
Yeah.
But Sexy Beast, it's only Ben Kingsley with the over-exaggerated stuff, and everyone else is pretty
normal,
reserved.
Yeah. I am interested in what Ray Winston would have done in that role, or Anthony Hopkins even.
But I think with Ray Winston in the Don role, it would have been a little more what you would expect and cliche, I guess.
Yeah.
Cliche isn't always bad.
No, but I don't think it would have made this movie any better.
I don't think Anthony Hopkins could have made it as menacing.
No.
But not for me anyway. I find him quite an old, frail-looking man most of the time, I'll be honest.
Yeah, you said Ben Kingsley looked kind of skinny in comparison.
He is, but there's something about
Yeah, but how he carries himself.
when you look how Ben Kingsley stood,
Yeah.
he stood so up straight.
Yeah, I'll get
Like-
up straight.
It looks like he's got a steel girder holding him in place.
Yeah.
He's so stiff, but in a purposeful way. It's like you try and push me and I'm not even moving. Like you push yourself away from him kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, great performance. There's also a scene where Ben Kingsley starts kicking off and he kicks the kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
That was like improvised, apparently.
Right.
That's why it's not quite in shot.
Right.
They liked the take, so they left it and it works. And
Yeah.
it's a great performance.
Like I said, I haven't enjoyed Ben Kingsley that much in a film ever. And earlier today, I was thinking I hadn't enjoyed Ben Kingsley this much in a film.
So then you're like, oh, I watched
Stacey
Stacey
Daisy.
today.
I think because of them two performances, they might have become one of my favourite actors.
But I like the fact that these are from the same people. They're both gangster films, but they're very different. And it helps that one's a nice period piece set in a 60s London.
Yeah.
And then you've got this one that's predominantly in Spain.
Yeah.
And a contemporary setting as well. It's the early 2000s. Yeah, it was. It was set around the time it was filmed.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
yeah.
And I think that helps them seem quite different. Yet I think if you were just looking at scripts and you took the era away, they'd pair very well because it'd be very similar.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how setting and actors can really change a concept of a film from just its initial screenplay as well, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
No, I'm alright.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll wrap us up. I can't tie a bow now, I'm afraid. So that's the end of the show. Thank you for joining us this week. And if you haven't already, click like and subscribe. A glowing review would also be appreciated. We are cynic_critique on X and Instagram. Links to those and more can be found on the show's description. Remember to join us again next week, as we will be making some phone calls to discuss Phone Booth and Cellular and its remake Connected. So stay on the line, and we'll be right back in 7 days. Goodbye. Bye.
Tell me what I need to know.
I don't know what you're talking about.